All right, good morning, everybody. Well, today we're gonna be talking a little bit about open house prospecting, right? As you guys know, open houses is one of the best ways to prospect. To me, it's the easiest way to do it, right? The way I would say it is, use the open house to as a reason to prospect, which means that the week, couple days before the open house, get your flyers done. Like today's Monday, pick out a listing that you're going to do an open house this week already, or Saturday or Sunday, Friday, Monday, whatever. Get your flyers ready. Start door knocking for that open house in the neighborhood or outside that neighborhood. Because to me, the easiest door knocking technique is just, hey, good afternoon. My name's Greg, local realtor here in Wheaton We're doing an open house at 123 Main Street. Were you aware that the home was on the market? Well, yes or no, right? So it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, it's listed at $1 million. Who do you happen to know is looking to move here in Livermore? Again, you know the basic questions, right? You guys have the scripts. To me, door knocking for an open house is the easiest. Let's say I'm not doing an open house, but Debbie's doing an open house in Livermore. I live in Half Moon Bay. I'm gonna door knock Half Moon Bay for that listing, right? I'm gonna ask Debbie, hey Debbie, do you mind if I send buyers to you? What's she gonna say? No, right? So I'm gonna use the door knock, that same door knocking technique wherever I want to. Santa Clara, Pleasanton, wherever, somewhere that Debbie's not prospecting, right? Because she can't cover the whole Bay Area, right? So I'm going to ask her, hey, do you mind if I door knock the neighborhood even, right? Because Debbie may not be door knocking the neighborhood. Hey, we may even partner up, right? So again, there's so much business out there, guys. Our goal is to contact as many people as possible. Use the open house technique. To me, is the best. My first couple years in the business, I didn't really do a lot of open houses, but I used people's open houses because when they're doing open houses, I'm door knocking on the weekend because I really felt that door knocking is the best way to prospect. I can't control how many people come to the open house. I can control how many doors I door knock and eventually how many people I need to talk to that day, right? So if I don't have anything else to do during that day, the afternoon or the evening, if I don't have appointments, I'm just gonna go out door knock and say, hey, who's doing an open house? I'm gonna use that. I don't even have to have that flyer. I just have to have some information because I can always email them the flyer or the MLS printout, right? So it's just a reason to door knock. Remember, 5 steps to prospect, right? Introduce yourself, identify the client, like are you the owner? Are you Mrs. Jones, right? Step 3, purpose. Why are you at their door? Why are you calling them? What is your main purpose? Open house invitation. Very simple, right? Ask a bunch of questions. Step 4, and then close for the appointment. Hey, I look forward to seeing you. I'll let my associate know that you're going to be there. Sometimes they'll ask me, "Are you going to be there, Greg?" If you're going to show up, I'll make sure I'm there, right? And then I try to find out what time they're coming, right? And again, am I going to go all the way to Livermore? No, I'm just going to, hey, Debbie, my client, Ali's going to come in there. Let him, if they happen to come there, I'll follow up with them. Let them know that I didn't make it today, right? And again, I will let Ali know that, hey, I'm not going to make it, but my associate, Debbie will be there to please ask her any questions and she'll be expecting you, right? It's all setting that up. It's okay. So again, guys, remember the purpose of prospecting is to get contacts, to turn them into a lead eventually, into an appointment, into a presentation, and then close for that deal, right? So remember those 5 steps. Number 1, introduce yourself. Figure out how you're going to introduce yourself, right? Local realtor, whatever, is up to you. Identify them. My suggestion is get the farm package, or you can download the farm package, the neighborhoods, right? You can figure out what the names of your neighbors are or wherever you're door knocking. So that way, when you door knock, it's like, hey, I'm looking for, Miss Lee. I'm looking for Jason. Are you Jason? Right? So that way, when you're door knocking to me, if you ask for a specific person, it's a little friendlier conversation. And be ready for, how'd you know my name? Right? Right? I get those sometimes, like, hey, how'd you know my name? Right? As a real estate specialist in the neighborhood, I know everyone that owns the property in the area. Is that true? Yeah, right. I have the farm package, so I know everybody that owns. I don't know who lives there, but I know who owns the property, right? So again, be careful of the words that we choose, right? So yeah, as a local real estate specialist, I know everybody that owns real estate here. So Jason, how long have you lived there? I know it says he bought it in 1983, but it's a conversation. So you ask questions to see if they engage you, right? Because they can shut you down and say, I'm not interested. Well, that's great. Hey, by the way, we're doing an open house, right? See, The not interested, the first no doesn't deter me from going through my dialogues and scripts. They shut my door, I leave a flyer, right? Move on. Remember, when people reject us, it's because they don't want us or they don't need us. So, next, so what? Get over it. Remember those 6 words, guys. Next, so what? Get over it. Okay. If you remember that, your life of prospecting will be a lot easier. Someone hangs up on you. Next, so what? Get over it. Right? Get those 6 words in your head. Okay. When someone says no, next, so what? Get over it. Right? Okay. So now, as you're prospecting for the open house, it's pretty easy, right? So do as many as you can. If you don't have time to door knock, at least door drop flyer invitations, especially into your listing farm, okay? Because even if your farm is in Union City and you already created a flyers, door drop those flyers for in Union City. It doesn't matter that the open house is in Livermore. What matters is that they saw you in your farm at least once a month, right? That you're doing some business, right? They don't know you're not doing the open house. They just see that you're doing you're inviting them to an open house. Because remember, people see your activities. That's the key, right? All right. So now you're prospecting for the open house. Again, you can do open house door knock before, during, even after. What I mean by during, right? During, you could be calling for people. If no one's coming, right? Call your leads. Call your COIs, right? Call mom and dads. Hey, I'm doing an open house. Who do you know is looking to buy, right? Send them over here, right? There's a lot of things you can do during the open house. If they're busy, then you don't need to be making calls, right? But if the open house is not busy, take advantage of your time. Do some learning, do some calling, right? And then, of course, after the open house, it's the same similar script and just say, hey, we just finished doing an open house yesterday and we had X amount of people. There's a lot of activity. By the way, how many bedrooms do you have? I already have that information. Remember, I got the farm package, right? Yet I need to ask them questions so they see if there's engagement. Because if now I can just say, hey, by the way, I noticed that so as I'm doing research in the neighborhood, you have the 4-bedroom plan, right? So a lot of people that came to the open house, we listed a 3-bedroom. They really want a 4-bedroom. What price would you consider selling your property for? Or what price do you think a buyer would need to pay you or offer you for you to consider it, right? Sometimes we have to create that sale and open that up, right? Once in a while, I'll get that, if I get 10 million, oh, great. So if a buyer was willing to give you 10 million for this $1 million property, right? You would sell? Okay, great. What's a good number for me to reach you? Why do I want that number? Remember, I want people's contact info, right? So now I can follow up. I've had it where they said, it's something, oh yeah, when if you can give me $1 million, and I said, like 2-3 years later, I said, hey, guess what? The market has shifted and the market is here, right? So again, guys, sometimes people will give you crazy numbers when you're door knocking or crazy answers. Take it with a grain of salt and move on to the next question. And close with that phone number, close with that email so you can prospect them that way. Because you already have their name and address, right? Right from the PAR package. Now you can get their name, the phone number and their email, right? So again, use the open house as a way to prospect, right? Before, during, and after the open house, right? You guys can post it on your social media, things like that, right? Again, I don't like doing the just listed, just sold too much, right? To me, open house invitations to me is the best way. You can just listed, just sold work just as good, right? Sharing information, great, right? So there has to be a good purpose, okay? So open house, just listed, just solds, right? Those are great ins, okay? Now, you can use, sale pending, right? Coming soon, we need more inventory, right? There's lots of reasons you can use to door knock, okay? During tax time, I use that as a door knocking tool. Hey, by the way, just want to remind you, taxes are coming due this and this, right? Okay, it's now July 29th. The tax assessment values are coming out either this month or next month. So some of your clients will be getting a letter, right? I already started getting those calls. Hey, I just got this letter from the county and I don't understand it, right? So I have a flyer that I'm finishing up now. That says, hey, by the way, have you received your real estate assessment, your real estate property tax assessment? Are you taking advantage of your $7,000 homeowner exemption? call me to, for your friendly review of your property tax bill to make sure you're not overpaying, right? And then leave your phone number. Use something like that, right? Have you received your real estate property tax assessment yet? Call me to find out if you're taking advantage of your $7,000 homeowner exemption. Call me for details. Call me for a friendly review. Put that somewhere. Text that, okay, that same text to everybody, okay? In the next week or two, all of August, they should be receiving it by the end of August, okay? That's usually the case, okay? Because taxes are due November 1st, right? So again, to me, door knocking right now is good. It's hot, right? It's okay, right? Door knock when it's not so hot, right? Or, figure out, if you don't want to door knock, then you need to make calls or mailers or post it on your social media, right? All right, so now let's look at the open house, right? So now you're ready for the open house, right? You got flyers, right? Now, I hope you guys are using Spacio, right? If you don't know what Spacio is, right? spac.io, right? Make sure you guys are using it, okay? It looks like this, right? Spacio, right? You guys see this, right? Oops, I don't think you guys see it. Hold on. Share my screen. Let me just do a quick show, right? You guys should have access to this, right? Spacio, spac.io, okay? This is going to be the newest tool or the best tool to use in today's tech world, okay? If you're not using this yet, please talk to your MIT and your manager. Make sure you guys have access to it. So between today and Friday, because we're going to have a follow-up class next Friday, make sure you have access to this, okay? I'm going to show you, if you haven't yet, you can put questions in this Spacio app, right? You get a QR code. So please make sure you guys know how to use this, okay? Get your access, okay? Should be your Intero email, and then whatever password they gave you, talk to your MIT, okay? The other thing that you guys should have access to is Real Estate Training by David Knox. You guys see this, right? Real Estate Training by David Knox. This, you guys don't have to pay this. We're a company's already paying this for you. Make sure you talk to your manager or Rishi or me. You guys have access, okay? Real Estate Training by David Knox. You guys probably have access to it. So when you log in, right, put in your email. If you don't remember your password, just put, forgot password, and then put in your email. You may have to check if it's Intero Real Estate or Intero.com or one of your personal ones. If those don't work, it'll tell you like, we don't have this account or something. Then you need to contact your manager, myself, or Rishi to set you up, okay? In here, there's a lot of training about open houses, right? There's also training in Moxie, right? You should have, Hub, the other one is Hub, HUB, right? hub.intero.com, right? This is our Intero training, right? So you guys should have this, right? Again, you should know your login, okay, to your Moxie Hub. There's tons of training in here also, all right? So make sure you guys are doing that. Okay, so now you're doing open house, right? You're all ready. You have flyers, right? See, to me, I don't really have a lot of flyers that I put out on my open houses, right? I email the flyer to them once they've signed up on the Spacio. Now, if they like, oh, do you have flyers? You have flyers, right? But I don't leave it out, right? Because people will take that like it's candy, like it's free candy, like it's Halloween. And most of them will just throw it away, right? But if someone keeps asking, I'm going to give it to them, right? Now, if I have plenty of extra flyers, right? Sure, let them take it. But most of the time, if you just leave it out there on the counter, people will take and like it's candy and it's just going to get wasted, right? So I want to make sure that there's a sense of value for them, right? And if you're getting like 100, 200 people, I don't know how many of you guys have ever printed 200 flyers for an open house. I never have. Most I have is like 20 or 30, okay? And I don't leave it out, okay? I have one. Do you guys have those flyer stands where they can't take it out, right? It's like a poster, right? Okay, that's the ones you want. Put a couple of those throughout the property, right? So they can read it. And then scan here for flyer, right? Remember, just like if you go to a restaurant, scan here for the menu. It's the same thing, guys. Okay, everybody has a smartphone. They all know how to use QR codes. Now we have flyers, full-size flyers, right, to impress the seller and future listings. That's what we have those flyers for, right? But as far as the public is concerned, most of the flyers, they get wasted. So I wait for them to ask for it, okay? Because I usually ask, like, what information do you want, okay? And if you have the Studio app, a Spacio app, all of that is taken care of. Okay, all right. What else should you have in open house? You guys should have those buyer guides, right? Those seller guides that Intero has, right? Or the title company has, right? And those should be emailable also, right? Ask me for your free copy. What's your email address, right? Or everybody signs in before they even enter the house, right? In the Spacio app, and they get all this, right? Oh, can you send me disclosures? What's your email address, right? See, or ask me for the disclosure package, right? See, when you have things around the house, right? Not just in one place, right? Throughout the house, and it's a call to action, right? Thank you for visiting the open house. Ask me for this. Ask me, would you like, school information? What's your email address? What's your phone number? See, this is how you get, possible leads, right? And again, you qualify them, you pre-qualify them to see if you can turn them into an appointment, into a deal, right? So there's a lot of things you can do for an open house, right? You're prepared, you did your work before, now you're at the open house, you're ready, you open the door, right? Now, there's a new form called the OHNA, the open house, notice, right? Okay. So that's the newest form that has come out, right? We'll talk about this later at 2:00, but let me just touch on that. As of August 17th, that's when the new rule technically happens, right? Although you can do this now in Spacio, you need to ask people, thanks for coming by the open house. How did you find the open house, right? Are you curious, or are you serious, or are you just curious, right? These are some things that I usually ask to see if I get a smile or you break the ice, right? Or I'll say, hey, you look like the next homeowner, right? Thanks for coming. How'd you happen to find the open house? So you got little opening lines that you may want to use, right? It's up to you, right? If you guys have any good opening lines, put it on the chat, or you can tell us at the end. Again, when you're doing the open house, right, make sure you need to find out, two things. Number one, do they have an agent? Number two, who's that agent, right? So right now, so Parul asked earlier, when they say, oh, I already have an agent, who's that agent? I don't know. What company do they work for? I don't know, right? Did you sign something? I think so, right? Again, there's no clarity, right? When you ask people, are you represented? You have to assume that they are, right? If they say, have they signed something, and they say they have, I say, that's great. Okay. Do you happen to have a copy of it? Okay. So you need to pre-qualify what they're saying, right? Just like, do you have an agent? Are you represented? Who is that agent? When people can't even remember their agent, I don't know what kind of relationship that is. Because if I sign again, do your best not to use buyer-broker agreement. It's called a buyer representation agreement. Okay, BR, right? Right. So the BR is buyer representation. So use that. Okay, the BC is buyer agent compensation. Okay, so use the BR, which is the buyer representation form. Have you signed a representation agreement or an employment agreement? Right. When you say you have an agent, most of them say, oh yeah, I got this person, right, somehow. And if they can't even remember, I would question that and see how serious that is, right? Because I want to be able to show them that I'm a better agent, or I can help them better, right? But if they already have a good agent, hey, that's fine. I'm okay with that, right? I'm here to see if I can help people. So do you have an agent? Who's that agent, right? By the way, do you have an exclusive representation? If a client has a non-exclusive representation, you can still solicit that business. Okay. So how do they know if they have an exclusive or non-exclusive? There's two check boxes that people have to do on the BRBC form. We're going to cover that at 2:00 today. If you can't make it at 2:00 today, I'll send both of these recordings later this afternoon so you guys can review it on your own. Okay. So just remember, the form is already non-exclusive. You have to make it exclusive. I would say 99.9%. Mine is always exclusive, right? Unless they just want me to show one house, then I can certainly make it non-exclusive. Okay. So make sure you're checking those two boxes, and I want to see who knows that at 2:00 today. Okay. So when you ask people who's their agent, do they have a representation agreement? Is it exclusive? Or so one question you want to ask is, do you have an exclusive representation agreement with that agent or with whoever they say, right? Do you have an exclusive representation agreement? Okay, use those words. Do you have an exclusive representation agreement? I don't know. Did you sign something with them? Do you have a copy of it? Let me review it, or please send it to me. I will, I'll review it for you. Okay? I can double check. Because again, if they have a representation agreement, they already have an agent, it's hands off, right? Okay. Now, you're doing an open house. There's a form, OHNA, right? The non-agency form. That's a disclosure that says that you are only representing the seller, that, I'm here not as your agent, Mr. Buyer, right? Please read that form. And, OHNA. Okay? It's a very simple form. It's an open house, non-agency disclosure. That's all it is. It just says, hey, I'm doing the open house. I represent the seller. There's no agency relationship between me and you, Mr. Buyer, at this time, right? We're probably going to make that into like a flyer so we can put on a stand, okay? Because that form to me is a little antiquated because, you're asking people to sign in. I'm not in the proponent of people signing in. I like people using the Spacio app, right? Or I handing them my phone, okay? That's how I do get people's contact info, because I can't read people's writing sometimes, right? And it's harder for them to give me misinformation on a tech tool, because I call it right after that, right? After they sign in, there's a text I send, or there's something I send to them. Okay, like after they leave the open house, or right when I said, hey, Misty, do you mind if I please share your contact info? And I open up a new contact record, and people put their name, address, phone number, most of the time, right? And I'll put their Met Open House 123 Main Street, right? And then I'll send the text, hi Misty, it was a pleasure, thanks for coming by the open house, pleasure to meet you. Please call me for any questions regarding 123 Main Street. I make the address as part of the text, and then my information, and I sent as they're touring the house, right? That's how it is before, okay? So now as the new rules come in, right? When you're showing the house, right? And this is where clarity is going to come in, right? So let's say, Margaret comes in the open house. I ask her if she has an agent. She says yes, yes. So, okay, she's represented, hands off, right? I let her through the house, right? Because I cannot be the one showing the house. Oh, here's the gray area, right? Can you show them the house, right? Because there's the non-agency form, it's clear I'm not their agent, so it's okay to show them a house like you're the host, right? Now, be careful what you're saying. Act like you're the, for lack of the word, like the host, right? You're not here as an agent, right? So if they ask you like questions, so what kind of inspections, repairs, you can answer those, because those are legitimate questions that a non-licensee can answer. If they ask you, hey, how, are the repairs, good or bad, right? Or, what's the condition of the house? Is it good or bad, right? When you're starting to describe the property, or starting to get into, are you giving them advice, right? Instead of just information, you're not threading to the part of agency, right? Because when you start to say, oh yeah, the repairs are not that big of a deal, right? This should be an easy, flip or whatever, right? You can move into this. That's where you're starting to give advice. So be careful what you're saying as of today, right? Because the rules have changed because of agency, right? Remember, there's 3 types of agency: written, oral, or implied/expressed. When you're acting like their agent, right? I know we posted that says we're not their agent, right? Because of that open house form. Yet, if we're acting like their agent, like we're giving them advice, like, oh yeah, this is a great neighborhood, your kids will just love this, right? Those are starting to become advice, right? Okay, so don't be doing those things. So if someone asks you, give them information. Don't start giving them advice about the house, the neighborhood, right? About buying, right? Okay, things like that. Like, it's a good time to buy. Don't get there, right? Talk about the house. That's it. Information, right? So, because if they're not, now that's if they're represented, right? What if they come in and says, oh no, did we just started? We don't have an agent, right? Well, the next question is, great. Would you like my assistance to help you find the right home, right? This is something we should have been asking before also, but now it's a legal question we need to ask. Before we start showing them a home, we need to ask them, are they represented? No. right? Great. Well, do they want our help? They say yes. Great. Yeah, I'm gonna send you a quick form, right? That's there's two forms, right? There's there's a simpler form, and then there's the BRBC form. Right? We'll talk about that later this afternoon. You can send that, and they can DocuSign it, right? While they're touring the home, right? Do you have to do it at the open house? No, right? You can do it after the open house. You can set up a buyer presentation appointment, okay? To show the house, you don't really need anything for them to sign. Because if they say, I don't want to sign that open house, registry, I don't want to sign the open house non-agency form, you cannot force them, okay? Can you kick them out? No, you cannot, right? Because of their signing it, right? Because they don't want to sign it, okay? That's for you. That's not for the property owner, right? Okay. Now, what reasons could you kick people out? We'll talk about that at the end. Okay. But let's finish up with the form. So if people don't want to sign that, or they don't want to sign your Spacio, right? Two separate things. The form and Spacio app are two separate things. Okay. If they don't want to sign that form, well, we're not going to be using that form anyways. So that should be a moot point, right? All right. Now the Spacio app. If people don't want to sign the Spacio app and leave their name and contact info, right? You can kick them out as long as you have the seller's permission. Now, what's the reason for you to have that Spacio app, right? Or why do they need to leave their name and contact info? Well, number one, for security purposes, right? In case there's something that happens. Number two, safety. In case someone had COVID, we need to let everybody know, right? Or something like that. Okay. Again, as long as you have your seller's permission that says, hey, we need, when I do my open houses, do I have your permission if people don't sign in for me not to let them in? Right? Put that in writing, right? Put it on the listing form. We'll talk about that later. You can technically not allow people to come in. Just like if the seller requires people to have booties or removing their shoes to come into the house, you can prevent people from coming in, right? So as long as it's something that the seller has requested with your advice, then you can use those type of things to not allow people, not kick them out, but not allow people, right? Just like if they have pets, right? Like dogs, right? Not service dogs, okay, because that's different, right? Service dogs are treated like people. Okay, so as long as it's not a service dog, if people says, oh yeah, this is my comfort animal, right? They have to let them in, right? Or you have to ask the seller when you take a listing, right? Is it okay if, because some people are allergic to pets, right? Okay, what if Jason's allergic to dogs, and I let someone come in with their dog, whatever dog it is, right? That might become an issue for me as a listing agent. Okay, so again, know the rules, okay, about open houses. Okay, as people come in, have them sign in the Spacio app, and this is where by Friday I want you guys to make sure you guys are using Spacio app properly. There are certain, you can put these questions like, do you have an agent? Who's your agent, right? You can put this in Spacio. Okay, talk to your MIT about that, right? How to use it, because these are things that you should be on your Spacio app. Like how long you've been looking, right? You can put as many questions as you want on that Spacio, right? Just like an open house registry, that we used to use, right? Where people, check boxes, right? And put in their information. Now it's all digital. So make sure you guys are using Spacio, right? spac.io, okay? Talk to your MIT, your manager, myself. Talk to your MIT first, because they're the one that's going to make sure your account is set up, and it should have been set up, especially if you just recently joined us. You're like one of our long timers. It's there, right? Make sure you know your login. So ask them for your login. They'll get it for you. Okay. They may have, you may have to reset your password, but that's pretty easy. You can do that on your own. Okay. So Spacio, use that. Pretty easy. People coming to the open house, remember, only answer questions. Don't start giving advice, right? Only information, unless they really want to hire you. Because, hey, how quickly is it for you to have them sign that BRBC, right? Again, all these things right? And explain to them why you cannot answer questions. Like if let's say Cindy asked me, hey Greg, how do the reports look? Right? Well, I can't give you advice about that right now, but if you want me to send it to you for your review, what's your email address? Or I can is this the proper email address for me to send you the disclosure package? Right? What do you mean you can't answer it? Well, the reason is because until I'm representing you, I can't start giving you advice because the agency rules are now different. Okay? So when when can we meet to discuss how I can represent you? Right? Close for the appointment, right? Because when people start asking questions, that's because they're really interested, and if they want to hire me, set up that appointment, right? Or when can we talk after the open house? Are you available today at 5 or 6 o'clock? Right? Do a Zoom, do a phone call, whatever, right? So again, the representation is going to be a big thing, as the DOJ, settlement comes in August 17th. Just remember, give information, do not give advice until you have a representation agreement, okay? Because that's the key. You got to have a representation, exclusive or non-exclusive. Remember, you can have a non-exclusive with everybody. That's easy, right? That's why we have the short form of that BRBC. Do you guys know what that form is called? All right, pop quiz by 2 o'clock. You guys should know, right? Hopefully, I'll see the same people at 2 o'clock, right? So we have the BRBC, which is the 7-pager, and then we have the shorter one. How many pages? Come at 2 o'clock today, right?
Pages, I guess. We can. It's 3 pages. I think we can show only up to 3 houses, and it's a 30 days max expiry. Yeah. We can only show if they're just interested in showing 1 or 3 houses.
Yeah, up to 3 houses, right? So what's the form called? Right? So
I just forgot.
When you guys find out at 2 o'clock. Good job, Sorenji.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Right? So find out by 2 o'clock what the form is. We'll know what it is, right? So get that form. It's only 3 pages. It's a little bit simpler, right? It's 1 month. It's 30 days compared to the BRBC is technically 3 months. Okay, they changed it from 90 days to now 3 months. So we can actually just add 3 months. Okay, they finally figured out 90 days is too hard to calculate. They said 3 months, like 2 years on the listing agreement. 30 days or 1 month on the buyer reps on the shorter BRBC, right? So if you figure out what that form is, okay, it starts with a B. All right. So as you do open houses, remember, do they have an agent? Who's that agent, right? And then move on. Okay. Remember, what can I answer about the house, right? Anything that's on the flyer, you can answer, right? How many bedrooms, how many baths, does they have a pool, right? You can answer those. Well, when they say, hey, what do you think about this? That's advice. Okay, so don't get in that. And you need to be able to answer them, hey, unfortunately, I can't give you advice. Well, what do you mean you can't give me advice? Right? Well, because, with the rules of agency now, right, in order for me to give you advice, I need you to sign a representation agreement. So can we talk after the open house? Remember, the open house is for quick conversations, right? To set up a follow-up call, follow-up appointment. That's what the open house is for, okay? We're not there to give a 1-hour presentation to them, okay? It's, quickly because, there could be other people coming in, right? But of course, you got to give people, their attention, right? You got to help them out. All you need is one deal, right? From every open house. Because if you do an open house once a week, 4 times a month, you should be able to do 1 deal a week. I mean, 1 deal a month, minimum. It's just a matter of, contacting more people as, as the open houses go, okay? All right, so I think I answered most of the questions that were put to me earlier, okay, on the call. So is there anybody have any specific questions about the forms or how to handle open houses nowadays? Okay?
Yeah.
Remember, yes, Swarji?
Yeah, so it was like sending disclosures we can do without
without the form. Yeah.
Without the agreement.
Yep. And that's why when people ask me, hey Greg, how does the termite inspection look? Well, let me send it to you for your review. Email address, right? You should already have it because they signed in, right? If not, they can certainly, give it to me at that point. Okay.
Okay, and sending only listings also, like I have some clients who are already in the Real Scout and they would like to wait. That is not a problem without your form.
Remember, Having conversation does not require a form, right? As you start to give more advice, I would suggest having some sort of form, right? But if they're just getting listing alerts, you're having a conversation, you don't need anything in writing. The moment they say, I want to see this house, Ranjit, get the short form. If it's 3 houses or less, if not, do the BRBC. Tell them, hey, I need you to sign this form. I'll send it over right now. Okay. What is this form, right? They're going to ask you, what is this form, right? Well, basically, Ranjit, this is an employment agreement. In order for me to show you the house, I need you to sign this, that if you like that any of the houses I show you, that I'm going to need to be your agent, okay? That I'm the one that's going to write the offer, right? That's it. It's very simple, right?
Yes.
It's a form that says, if you like the house and I show it to you, I'll be the agent writing the offer. Fair enough? If they say no, then you have a problem, right? See, to me, I like the new rules to eliminate those people that are wishy-washy, right? Meaning they're not, loyal, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And again, it's just a way of doing business. So again, just let them know it's an employment agreement. It's a representation agreement, right? Don't use buyer broker. Those are our words. Buyer representation agreement is an employment agreement.
Employment agreement.
Right?
Quick question.
Okay, Ali?
Yeah, Greg, can you explain, because I understand the short form,
yes,
but what is the benefit? Is it because the buyers feel like they're tied down less? It's less stress off their shoulders because it's only 30 days?
Yeah.
What is the...
the reason why they came up with the short form is if, let's say, Ali calls me on my listing, right, from my sign. Says, Ali says, yeah, I want to see this house. I said, great. Are you represented, right? You have an agent that's going to write the offer for you, Ali? He says, no. Well, great. If I show you the house, Ali, this afternoon, and you like it, are you going to allow me to write the offer for you? Well, what do you mean? Right? Ali may say, what do you mean? Am I going to allow you to? Well, if I show you the house, then that means, I'm going to be your agent, correct? See, there's a different ways to say it, okay? Am I going to be your agent? He's going to tell me whatever, right? If he says no, I said, great. So I'm not going to be the one to write the offer. So that means you already have an agent who's going to write the offer for you, right?
Okay.
Right? I mean, let's role play this, right? I said, Ali, do you have an agent?
I have a friend.
Okay, great. So if I show you this house, right, am I going to be the one to write the offer, or are you going to have your friend write the offer?
I'm not sure right now. My friend's kind of in and out, so he's not able to make it.
Okay, based on the current law and rules, if I show you the house, I need to be your agent. So is that okay with you?
Yeah, I mean, you're here working for me, so I guess
sounds good. I'm gonna send you our representation agreement. Basically, you're employing me and Intero. I'm gonna send it to you at your email address. Please sign it. Once I receive it, I'll set up the appointment. Right. By the way, once you sign it, can you send me proof of funds and your pre-approval letter? Right. Because I'm not gonna show it to you unless you show me proof of funds and pre-approval. Right.
Correct.
Right, guys. Right. You only show houses to pre-approved people that have money, right? So you ask these questions. How long you've been looking? Did you get pre-approved yet? Right? I need to see all that. Okay, so when you're working with buyers, guys, pre-qualify them properly. Don't just go out there and show them the house, right? I mean, you could, but be careful. You're wasting your time, right? The reason why you pre-qualify is to see how legitimate this appointment is, right?
Right.
Ali?
Yeah, and then so let's say you would utilize this obviously at an open house, the short form.
Yes.
So when they don't have representation, and of course you try to pursue that client, do you write one of the properties of 3, the one that you're hosting?
I could. I don't have to. Again, it depends, right? Again, what are they hiring me for? The short form says three properties, right? It doesn't say any property. Right? That's what BRBC is for. Right? When you have 3 specific or less properties, you use a short form. That's what that is for. Okay? You got to use the BRBC if it's like, any house in, a 3 to 5 bedroom house, 1,600 to 2,000 square feet in Livermore, you need to use the BRBC.
I see. And then since the BRBC, it's now that you have to market exclusive, it's the same same rules for the short form?
Okay, the short form is automatic, it's non-exclusive.
Okay, I see.
Okay. The BRBC gives you the option to make it exclusive. So it's automatically non-exclusive, just like the short form. The BRBC gives you the option by checking two boxes to make it exclusive. So that's your homework for 2 o'clock today, right? What is the name of the short form and what are those 2 boxes, right? Because we're going to update our templates today. The listing agreement, the purchase agreement, and of course, the BRBC form. So that's what we're going to work on this afternoon at 2 o'clock, okay? So in case you guys don't make it at 2 o'clock today, like I said, it will be recorded, and I'll send the links later today. The recordings around 4 o'clock, and you can watch it, whenever you can. Just make sure you guys look for that email, okay? So anything else? Any other questions on the forms or how to deal with buyers before, during, or after? Debbie, you raise your hand or?
Okay, sorry, she can go ahead.
No,
Debbie can go ahead.
She just waved.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering, when I'm hosting an open house, just like I know, I'm hosting an open house for a listing agent.
Okay.
So at that point, I'm representing sellers, right?
Yes,
But
if it's in our office. Okay.
Oh, yes, yeah, of course, yeah. So I'm representing sellers, but I'm exposing that house to as many buyers as I can, and looking for the leads. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
All right, Parul.
So my question is an experience I dealt with in the last week. So I did an open house last weekend, and I door knocked beforehand, and I just started having conversation with one of the neighbors, and he mentioned to me, I was asking, do you have any buyers you have any in mind? And she's like, I'm trying to sell this home. And then she continued asking me, are you the one that is selling that home? And I was like, yeah, we work as a team. So
you say our office is selling it, yes.
Well, yeah. So I basically took that as, oh, let me try doing a listing presentation.
Right.
So I did everything, and I door knocked this
morning.
I basically just asked, I rang the doorbell. She just answered through ring, and I knew her name. She didn't open the door.
Okay.
And I left the whole booklet there.
Yes. Okay.
And she gets mad and upset that, this is an invasion of privacy. How did you get my name?
Yeah.
And I told her that's all public information. She said, you're littering in front of my house.
Yeah.
So, I was just trying to be nice to you that day and just mentioned it, but I really want to talk to you. So pretty rude about it, but really I have her number now. And I told her, if you want, I can pick it up. She didn't out. And so what should I do now?
Okay. All right. So Parul was doing a door knocking, right? She had a potential lead. She does a CMA or whatever, drops off some information in front of the house. Client, potential lead says, hey, you're littering, hey, invasion of privacy, this and that, right? Okay. This is how I would answer those type of questions or objections, right? Remember, when people tell you, hey, this is, how'd you get my information, right? Sound confident, as a local real estate specialist, I know everyone that owns real estate in the area. Okay. I don't say it's public information. It's not public information. Okay. We have access as realtors, right? So as a local real estate specialist, I have, I know everyone that owns property in the area. Okay. So actually, so again, it depends on how they respond, right? So let's role play, Parul, right? So I'm door knocking. See, did you ask her, hey, would you like to get together to show, so I can show you, what I do to sell homes, right? What did you drop off at her house? Just a CMA package, or what did you drop off?
I dropped off metrics, data on Transgraphic,
Okay.
market.
All right. Okay.
And
So unless it's a door knocking piece, before I would, that's nice that you did that, right? Okay. When I'm door knocking, I would always try to close for the follow up, right? Hey, can I send this to you, right? Or what information can I send you or drop off for you? Get their permission, right? Be careful, when you do a lot of work, not necessarily because, for anything that's intrusive or anything like that. Yeah, I've had people where, I say, well, what kind of information can I send you? I send it, and then they send it back to me. They mail it back. Some people will do that, right? And again, because it's important information, they don't know it's for them. So when people challenge you, right, just be honest with them, right? So based on what, the short thing that I heard here, so you took it upon yourself to just drop off, a package, market stats and things like that, and then they took offense to it. Something else is going on there, right? So, I don't usually apologize, right? So I always tell you guys, you don't need to be sorry because you did it intently, meaning you purposely dropped it off, right? I say, well, just say, thanks for letting me know, right? Right? Just be nice, right? Don't apologize. Okay? To me, I don't. But if you want to, you can say, I'm sorry, I apologize, right? I typically don't. That's why my wife gets mad at me sometimes because I don't say sorry enough, right? I acknowledge that I did something wrong, but unless, because like I said, there's no accident because you did it purposely, right? So you dropped it off, right? So I say, well, thanks for letting me know. By the way, what was in that package that you did not like? You question their thinking, right? Remember, the clients are always right. Their thinking may be flawed, so that's why you ask them. And so, what was it about the information that you didn't like, right? And that's where, hey, this is personal information. Where did you get this information, right? As a local real estate specialist, I have access to information that the public doesn't. So, was there something in there that you had a question about, right? As a real estate specialist, as your local realtor, I have access, right? Use that as part of your dialogue. I know that's not in the script book, right? But that's what I would use. That's what I do. When people challenge me about, hey, how'd you get my phone number, right?
Yeah.
Well, how did I get the phone number? Well, actually, Parole, as a local real estate specialist, I have access to phone numbers like Cole Realty that provides me these numbers. If they say, oh, I'm on the do not call list, then I'll say, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. I'll make a note of that, right? Just be honest with people, right? Again, be careful on what we say, right? And just be honest, because when people challenge you, where'd you get my information? As a real estate specialist, right? As a local realtor, I have access to certain information. And this is where, so I subscribe to a service that provides me, whatever information, right? Okay. Be honest, right? Do your best not to skate the question. Because remember, when someone asks you a question, answer it, then ask another question. Move on from it. Okay. So Parole, hopefully that helps, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, when people challenge you, yes, yeah, especially that information thing. To me, that's the easiest thing, right? Just like if I'm door knocking, they say there's no soliciting, right? Are you there to solicit? No, I'm just there to share some information to invite you to an open house. Here's some information. Call me if you have further questions. I'm not asking for anything, right? But yet I've had people crumple my flyer, throw it at me, rip it up in front of me, right? That's okay. Now, if I see a for sale sign tomorrow, I'm like, what happened, right? Remember, we don't know what's happening in people's lives today, right? When we're door knocking, they could be nice, angry, whatever. Someone else door knock next week, it's a totally opposite, right? Okay. My wife was mad at me last night this morning, right? So again, these things happen. We don't know what's going on, right? So just remember, when someone, challenges you or says something to you, address it, right? Okay. Like when people say, what are you doing in front of my house, right? Well, I'm here just to invite you to an open house. That's why to me, an open house is the easiest. Step 3, right? Purpose of door knocking to be prospecting. I'm just here to invite you some information, to an open house. By the way, here's some information you may want to know about, right? Right? Like in Half Moon Bay right now, we have this big thing about they want to put this 5-story building for like the homeless or migrants, right? There's some political stuff there, but a 5-story building in Half Moon Bay, that doesn't make sense, right? And there's a 1-story ranch style home on it. It's like a 6,000 square foot lot, and they want to put a 5-story building. City council has approved it, so there's a bunch of us, locals here that are trying to say, hey, we disapprove this. We're gonna put this on the ballot. So we're trying to collect signatures, right, to put it on the ballot. But there are things like that. Hey, did you hear about this? Right? Hey, I just want to share some information. Did you hear about this? Right? Right. So again, there's some information that may affect your local community that you just want to be sharing some information they know about it. Right? Okay. So again, if it affects your community and it's important to you, share that. Okay. Just remember, just stay away from politics and religion, so to speak. It's a divisive thing, right? But again, if it's important to you guys, politics or religion, whatever, then if you feel adamant about it, you certainly talk about it. Just be careful, okay? So anything else that we can talk about that you guys have a question about open houses, prospecting?
Yes. One more thing. Yes. When people just come and ask basic question about schools and neighborhood, rather than giving them advice whether it's good or bad, we can just say the information which is publicly available, like you can follow greatschools.org or crimespot.com if you need further information, right?
Usually I would say like this. Thanks for asking, Sorenji. Let me send you a couple of links. What's your can I send it to his email address, or what's your email address?
Right? Oh, okay.
Right? Because sometimes, is it great school or great schools, right? Again, you could certainly say, why don't you go to the school district, right? Let me send you a couple links for you to review. I always try to close for that, so that way I have a reason to follow up with them. Okay. So when people ask you questions, hey, let me send that to you. Hey, let me get back to you after the open house. Right. Okay.
So if they don't have representation, I can forward these information to them and then follow up for the BRB form.
Yeah. And now, what if they're represented? Should you send it also?
No.
You can.
What if they have an exclusive?
Again, I'm not giving them advice. I'm not trying to pursue the client. I'm just doing them a service, right?
Oh, okay. Even if they are exclusive, I can send them disclosure and everything?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are we clear on that, guys? What we can do, remember, we can share information with people, represented or not.
Okay.
Right? Now, if they say, can you, which part of the disclosures is important? You need a representation agreement. And if they're represented, please ask your agent. Got it? Okay.
Yes,
we can always share information. We cannot do is start to give advice or start showing them other houses, right?
Right? Yes.
Put this house because you're the host. Hey, come on in, take a look, right? No big deal, right? Okay. The law doesn't say you have to just let people. You cannot interact. You can interact. Okay. You cannot just give advice. Are we clear?
Yes. Yeah.
We can
Makes
interact.
sense now.
We don't just say, we don't just shut our mouth, right? No, that's not what this law is all about. The law is about figuring out who's representing who, right? And if they want our help. And how much are we getting paid for helping them? That's what this is for, guys, okay? It's business as normal, except I got to ask more questions now in the beginning. Clear? All right, hopefully that makes clear. So I'll see you guys today at 2 o'clock, right? It's a different link. We're going to talk about updating your forms. We're going to talk about more about the forms at that point. Okay. It's probably going to run a little more than 1 hour. But hopefully we can stick with 1 hour time frame. If you have more questions, certainly reach out to me. I'll stick around. Let me just stop the recording here.